folks, welcome to the Martinsville Speedway. We are here for uncharted qualifying for race number 8 of season number 3 of the NOFSRL Cabela's Cup Series for the first day to 500 here at the Martinsville Speedway. And the first car is coming out on the track. It's Keith Kent in the 80 and Nick Martins in the 7. They'll be joined by the 09 of Winnie Calhoun, the 26 of Roberto Crown Jr., the 31 Carter Joey, 41 John Andrews, 50 Brady Perez, 54 Alex Watts, 57 Timothy Ruiz, Mike Cook 91, and Casey Dean in the 99. And of course, Keith Kent in the 80, Nick Martins in the 7. So Poli standings board up here, see who's going to have the best first lap. And it is Keith Kent with a 20.920, and I expect them to be quicker throughout the session here. So don't call a winner just yet, because we are just getting started here with uncharted qualifying, and anything can happen here in these qualifying sessions. Kent with a faster lap there. Of course, everyone else coming onto the track, still waiting for the 26 of Crown Jr. and the 54 of Alex Watts. 41 of John Andrews coming out onto the track. Right now, the fastest lap of 20.558 for Keith Kent. Ahead of Nick Martins, Mike Cook, Carter Joey, Timothy Ruiz, and Brady Perez. Now 20.368 for Keith Kent. His best lap now, the best lap of the session, as more and more coming out onto the track. And just getting quicker here at Martinsville. Keith Kent still on the top of the board with a 20.267. I don't know if I'd expect it to remain that way once everyone else comes on. As Keith Kent comes down onto the pit road. And he will be overtaken. Mike Cook in the 91 with a 20.233 with that 91 car. Fantastic lap here. I will be honest, though, I am a little worried about full field qualifying here, because last year when we did full field qualifying, it was an absolute mess. But last year, the Martinsville races were run completely in the daylight hours. So just have to see what happens here. It could be different. It could go better. It could be a lot cleaner, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Meanwhile, the first lap into the 19-second range, Mike Cook, the 91, with a 19.996. And he'll be joined and surpassed by Brayden Perez in the 50 with a 19.992. And tied by the 57 of Timothy Ruiz. Two 19.992s at the top of the board, with the 57 and 50 currently the two in the main event. Of course, the top two advance on from uncharted qualifying here. And I want to give a big shout out to one guy, John Andrews. His Baylor Bears won the NCAA National Championship this week, and congratulations to the Baylor University Bears on winning that championship. Only the second ever Texas State team to ever win the NCAA tournament, so congratulations to them. I'm not a Baylor fan, but I am a resident of Texas, so that was really cool to see, even though I was rooting for Gonzaga. But oh well. So one of these days, Zags will win. Hopefully. Then anyway, back to uncharted qualifying. Timothy Ruiz on the top of the board, coming down onto pit road after a 19.849 to put him on the top of the board, ahead of Brayden Perez in the 50 with a 19.906. Those two are on the top of the board right now, advancing to the main event. Mike Cook in third, Carter Joey fourth, and Nick Martins in the fifth position, of course. John Andrews back out on track in that 41. Nobody's overtaken the top two yet, except until now. Mike Cook, the 91 to the top of the board, or the second on the board rather, with a 19.856 for that Little Caesars Dodge. And now the top six into the 19-second range. 7th to 11th. Still in the 20s. Trying to pick up the pace here. They've got to pick up the pace if they want to make it into the main event. Oh, Mike Cook and Winnie Calhoun getting together there. That is a Martinsville pass right there. As Slapshoes once said about Bowman Gray Stadium, how he said passing at Bowman Gray is like performing open heart surgery with a broadsword. You can do it, but it's not going to be pretty. You could almost apply that to Martinsville. I will just say that. Almost. But the panic decel modifier here on this particular version of Martinsville is 4. So you can see them drive way deep into the corners, and that's just fantastic to see. So, of course, you know, this is going to be a very, very exciting race, hopefully, for the first Data 500. But here we're just doing qualifying. Of course, right after this, we got the full field for the 15 minutes. As the top two on the board right now, it is still Timothy Ruiz and Mike Cook, the only ones in the 19.8s. 8.49 for Ruiz and 8.56 for Cook. You see, he's not running that inside line like you'd see at Martinsville, say, last year. Again, that was running the daylight hours, and then the night hours when the track cools, the surface is a lot more slick. So, definitely something to look out for. Could see quite a bit of action going on in the first Data 500. Meanwhile, to the top of the board, Mike Cook, the 91, with a 19.805, number 1. And they'll be joined in the 19.8s by Keith Kent in the 80 with a 19.873 to vault him to third on the board right now, with a minute 35 left here in uncharted qualifying. Into 3 goes Cook, trying to get a better lap here if he can. We've seen some blistering laps here this week at Martinsville, and he is not able to get a quicker one that time. But we'll look at the board now. We mentioned how only the top, I think it was 6 just a minute ago, were within 19. Now we're up to 8, and 3 on the outside in 20s. The slowest of the session right now, Roberto Crown Jr. in the 26 with a 20.076 for that 2016. Now 45 seconds remaining here. We could have a couple of resets here before we finish this session. But right now, as much overtaking as we're seeing in the qualifying board right now, I don't know if anyone is going to overtake this 91. But I won't rule it out. We'll just see what happens here. Been a fairly clean session. No one's blown up. No one's wrecked out anything, so it's been good. That's always nice to see. But, 10 seconds remaining here. Will we get a reset? Mike Cook sure hopes so. As the clock ticks to 0, and we'll have a 19-second reset on the timer. So that is 1 lap at least. And could we see another? Sometimes we see a second reset. As to the top of the board, once again, the 57 of Timothy Ruiz with a 19.773. Fantastic lap there. for Timothy Ruiz, but it still looks like he and Mike Cook will be advancing to the main event in the first state of 500 here at Martinsville. 10 seconds remaining. And looks like that's gonna do it. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. And we are done here at Martinsville for uncharted qualifying. It'll be Timothy Ruiz and Mike Cook advancing to the full session. Keith Kent, Alex Watts, Braden Perez, Carter Joey, Winnie Calhoun, John Andrews, Casey Dean, Nick Martins, and Roberto Crown Jr. all heading home from Cabela's Cup Series qualifying. Of course, we see them in the Scots National race, of course. So, well, you probably already seen that race by the time this goes up. I don't know, but we'll see. But Ruiz and Cook advancing to the full field qualifying session. Let's go and do full field qualifying for the first state of 500. And we're back for full field qualifying for the first state of 500. First car coming onto the track, 27, Andrew Williams will lead the field out. Darian Arnsdorf in the 14 also coming out. Nobody's going to come out in front of that 27. So he will be the first one onto the racetrack. Ben Grorich third out. Alexander Rowe also coming out in that 11. And sooner or later we will see everybody out on the racetrack. Of course, the two uncharted drivers advancing on, the 57 of Timothy Ruiz as well as the 91 of Mike Cook. And some lap times already coming in for guys that have pitted behind the start-finish line. So that is why we see lap times already popping up. The first true lap time, the top of the first true lap times, Darren Arnsdorf with a 20.672. So he goes to the top of the board right now. Now it's Salmon Oskin in the 83. And now Andrew Williams, the 27. We're going to see a lot of shuffling going on here in the standings in the early goings here, so just be ready for it. And watch out here as more cars coming off of the pit road. This could be dangerous for everyone who's already out there. But right now on the top of the board, it's Andrew Williams in the 27, 21st in the standings coming into this race. Has a win already this season at the Auto Club Speedway in the Intuit 400. But since then, that has been his only top 5 and top 10 of the season. Other than that, he's had a fairly dismal season, but looking to have a good run here this weekend at Martinsville. He loses the pole spot for a moment to the 78 of Ben Grorich, who has a 20.178. Grorich coming into this race and 19th in points after gaining 7 spots at Rockingham. Enjoyed the week off. And now coming here to Martinsville, the paperclip, with a shot at a fantastic run. The defending runner-up in the points, if I'm not mistaken, on where he finished. I can't remember if he finished runner-up in the standings or third in the standings. But now to the top of the board, Daisy Johnson, the 15, for Team Velocitar. Alexander Rhoda second, Salmon Oskin third. Salmon Oskin having a fantastic qualifying run so far in that 83. Meanwhile, 3 wide as Ben Crouch gets slipped wide. This is a track where you would be hesitant on doing that. Good grief. This is just qualifying. But still, Daisy Johnson on the top of the board. There she is. Now teammate Benny Watson, Daytona 500 winner, to the top of the board. in that silver Patron number 53, 20.038. And now to the top of the board, this series Tristan Allen, if I had to put a pin anywhere. Sebastian Kukulon, now it's Phoenix winner Trey Smith. So even that didn't last long. Goodness gracious. Phoenix winner Trey Smith now to the top of the board. He joins Kukulon in the 19s. So those are the first two to crack 19-second laps. And now defending champion Kanan Biller will join them in the 95. He moves to second overall, ties Kukulon's lap actually. And he's got plenty of open space in front of him. He could have another good lap. Beverly Creed now up there. Benny Watson back to the top of the board. And seeing more and more 19-second laps coming in. Take a look how the uncharted drivers are doing. One just cracked the top 10. That's the 57, Timothy Ruiz. And the 91 of Mike Cook is currently 23rd on the board right now. So he's got his work cut out for him right now. Sebastian Kukulon now listed on the outside of Benny Watson in the 53. That's something to look out for. The outside on the starts here at Martinsville could get a fantastic start. So Kukulon could be in a really good spot there. With Benny Watson starting on the pole, him being on the outside, though, could be good for him when we get to the actual race. And back to where Ben Grorich finished in the points last season. He finished 5th after having a dismal showing at Chicagoland. Lost 3 positions from 2nd to 5th. Fell all the way back after the trouble he got in. And just, oh goodness. Oh, that's what's slowing everyone up. Chase Buck blew up in the 4. Big damage there. So he did a bit more than just blow up there. Or maybe he blew up and had someone ram into him, but goodness gracious. Look at this hornet's nest. Oh, no, there they go. Cologne around into the outside. He's going to collect Brad Crawford, Ethan Lewis. And more stacking up behind. Fragniti, points leader. Oh, Ben Young's coming in hard there. And look out for everyone else coming in. This could be bad. We could have a bunch of cars getting caught up in this. We already have a bunch of cars getting caught up in this, though. But it looks like the area is getting cleaned up. Just a bunch of smoke remains now. Well, this is going to be a difficult qualifying session to get through, I think. As Ben Young going to take his number 2 around to the pit road, beaten and battered. 12th on the board right now, but going to have to fix that DeWalt Chevrolet for sure. Right now, top of the board, it's still Benny Watson, the 53. Kanan Biller, 2nd. Sebastian Kukulon, 3rd. Trey Smith, 4th. Will Parrish, 5th. Josiah Robinson, 6th. The 32 of Beverly Creed, 7th. Eric Monaco, 8th. Christian Vargas in the 1 and 9th. And Samad Osgen rounds out the top 10. So we've got both Trinity River Racing cars in the top 10. One of the full frontal cars. Got Velocistar up there, of course. Team Ninja Rapids. Arctic Racing. Ruby Motorsports, the single car up there. As Ben Grorich now cracks the top 10. That'll make it both of the Team Ninja Rapids cars up inside the top 10. Actually, both of the just the full-timers. Their uncharted driver is 13th right now on the board. But just past halfway done here in the qualifying for the first Data 500 here under the lights at Martinsville. Not going to do replays of the accident we saw. We're just going to get to the end here Ben Young coming back out onto the track in that number 2 Chevrolet. Look out for everyone behind. This everyone getting bunched up together is what precipitated that first incident we saw. So everyone's going to want to be careful here for sure. This man right here, second on the board right now, the defending champion of the Cabela's Cup Series, Kanan Biller, second on the board right now, already has a win this season at the Willow Springs International Raceway in Rosamond, California. But of course, it has not been an ideal start to his title defense. Right now, sitting in, good grief, I don't know where he's sitting in the standings right now. See if I can find him here on the list. 29th in the standings right now as Ben Young has gone around again. So that's 2 times now that 2 has gone around. Double for the deuce. Jeez. So move him back to 17th on the board. So he's getting shuffled around. Not just on the track, but in the standings. Good gracious, this is a mess. But that's group qualifying for you. Hey, thank goodness this is not real life racing, because this would be costing people a lot more money than it is. Now it's just a slap on the wrist. You don't cost you anything. But this is a good example of why not to do group qualifying in real life NASCAR on a small track like this. But we knew it was going to be difficult for these drivers going in. We knew that qualifying here for the whole entire field was going to be a bit difficult, and it has been. And Ben Young still on the track with all that damage to the 2. I don't guess he's been able to come down to the pit road yet. He's still not going to come down on the pit road. He's driving the wheels off that thing. Driving the Goodyears off that thing, which is exactly what's going to happen for next season. The announcement was just made earlier this week that for the Trinity River Cup Series in 2022, Goodyear will not be the tire provider. Instead, it will be Pirelli. So Pirelli is going to come on board to be the official tire supplier of the series. Of course, Sunoco going to be staying around as the official fuel provider, the official motor oil, Valvoline, of course. And expect more updates regarding Next Gen 2022 in the coming weeks as we get into more Pirelli tire tests and Next Gen car tests to develop further and further to get ready for 2022. 2.5 minutes remaining here in the opening timer range here for the first day to 500. We could see some resets here. Right now, the top 10 is Benny Watson, Kanan Biller, Sebastian Kukulon, Trey Smith, Will Parrish, Josiah Robinson, Titan Nicholas, Mitchell Collins, Beverly Creed, and Eric Monaco. That is the top 10 in qualifying right now. 2 minutes left here at Martinsville. You see how deep these guys are willing to drive into the turns. The Decel modifier is 4 for this track, and the Excel modifier is only like 0.36 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they dive into these corners extremely deep. That's why you're seeing so much side-by-side going on here in the qualifying session. But now just over a minute remaining here. Again, could see a reset. But don't know if it's going to affect the positions on the board all that much, especially in the top 10. That looks to be set in stone. With Benny Watson looking like he's going to take the pole. The defending champion in second. The Tristan Allen of this series in the third position, Sebastian Kukulon. Good friend for a long while now, over the last few years. Kukulon, third on the board right now, has participated in all 3 series now of the Cabela's Cup Series, this being the 3rd season, and he has not won a race yet. He finished inside the top 10 in points in Season 1, had an atrocity of a season in Season 2, and right now Season 3 is not going great for Kukulon and that 82 team, but looking to turn it around and maybe have some better luck here at Martinsville. Right now he'd be starting on that inside line, but again, made note earlier, the outside line tends to get a good run off the start of the race. So we will see what happens as we have a reset, possibly one of 2. As the clock will tick down once again. It was for the Uncharted session. It was 19 seconds, then 24 seconds. At 19 for the first one, 24 seconds for the second reset. And this will be the final one of the session for qualifying for the first Data 500, and I don't think it's going to change very much as the final seconds will tick off the clock. Nobody is going to touch Benny Watson's time. He is going to take pole position here at the Martinsville Speedway. Kanan Biller in second, Sebastian Kukulon third, Trey Smith fourth, Will Parrish fifth, Charlie Davenport sixth, Josiah Robinson seventh, Titan Nicholas eighth, Ethan Lewis ninth, and Mitchell Collins rounds out the top 10. Scrolling through the rest of your standings there, the slowest time on the track, Trey Wright, a 42nd with 20.192 is his qualifying time. He's definitely going to have his work cut out for him. I'd say everyone 20th on back, unless something crazy happens with like an accident or something, taking out with a bunch of cars, or pit cycles, something along those lines. I don't know how 20th on back will have a chance here to win this race, but we'll just see what happens. That's going to wrap us up here for qualifying for the first Data 500. Again, congratulations to Benny Watson, and we'll see you later on for the Scots National Series here for the Five Guys 250. Of course, tomorrow, the first Data 500, and everything else here in the NOFSRL this weekend here at the Paperclip. And until the next time I see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Y'all have a good one.